Welcome to Asia Outlook. I am Aga Zhou, and I am here to report the top stories from around Asia. Chinese pharmaceutical company Sinopharm will start the third phase of a COVID-19 vaccine clinical trial in Peru. Around 12,000 vaccines already arrived in Lima. Phase 3 of the trial will include 6,000 people between the ages of 18 and 75. Trials with thousands of participants allow researchers to gather data on the efficacy of vaccines to pass regulatory approvals. Chinese leaders led by President Xi Jinping attended an event on Thursday to commemorate the 75th anniversary of the victory of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War. President Xi, senior officials and representatives from all walks of life observed 1 minute of silence in the Chinese capital.
在中国人民抗日战争中英勇牺牲的烈士默哀。
Now observe the 1 minute of silence to the heroes.
UN published its annual ranking of the world's most innovative countries. The report said a gradual eastward shift in the locus of innovation is underway, with China and a group of Asian economies advancing up the rankings.
The United Nations published its annual ranking of the world's most innovative countries, and the report said that there is a gradual eastward shift in the locus of innovation that is now underway, and that's with China and a group of Asian economies advancing up the rankings. But officials said that there were clear indications that money to fund innovation is drying up around the world. The startup companies requiring long-term research and development investment were likely to suffer the worst, and governments should broaden their support and recognize that innovative and new ideas will be vital to the recovering through the post-COVID-19 era.
China's aviation regulator said it will resume direct flights to Beijing from 8 countries from Thursday.
China's aviation regulator says it will resume direct flights to Beijing from 8 countries from Thursday. They include Thailand, Cambodia, Greece, Denmark, Sweden, Canada, Austria, and Pakistan. All passengers will have to undergo a 14-day quarantine after landing in Beijing. Now, the total number of passengers are capped at around 1,000. Meanwhile, China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region has opened all tourist sites and resumed cross-provincial tours. The region has reported no new coronavirus cases for 2 weeks in a row.
China said that no Indian soldiers have died in a recent border standoff. It's the latest flare-up in tensions between China and India after a border clash in June.
As far as I know, no Indian troops have lost their lives during recent standoff along the border. But I noticed a report by The Guardian says that an Indian soldier was killed in a military truck accident.
Beijing accuses Indian troops of illegally crossing the line of actual control in Ladakh and urges an immediate withdrawal. China and India have accused each other of taking provocative actions along the border. Both sides have rejected the allegations.
Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga has confirmed his candidacy for the country's premiership.
Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga has confirmed his candidacy for the premiership. The 71-year-old is seen as a likely winner of the ruling party's leadership after having secured the backing of 5 of the 7 factions in the Liberal Democratic Party. His competitors for the top job are former Defense Minister Shigeru Ishiba and party policy chief Fumio Kishida. A vote is expected on September 14th. Shinzo Abe, Japan's longest-serving prime minister, announced his resignation last week over health concerns.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has ended his tour of Europe with his final destination, Germany. In its first major diplomatic trip since the start of the pandemic, he also visited Italy, Norway, Netherlands, and France, seeking to strengthen ties between Beijing and the EU. In Berlin, Wang met with the political leaders, including his German counterpart, Heiko Maas. Both foreign ministers stressed the importance of the multilateralism and urged greater cooperation between China and the European Union.
The Chinese foreign minister arrived for talks on the last leg of his 5-nation European visit to show how much Beijing valued its relationship with the EU, and that even if there were difference of opinion on issues, that should not stand in the way of even closer economic ties. Certainly both men seemed broadly in step as they arrived for their press conference, though there was a small diplomatic hiccup as to which podium was their own. Once that slip was sorted, Heiko Maas suggested there was still far more uniting the two countries than dividing them.
A decoupling of the relationship between the European Union and China is not in our interest. It is in nobody's interest, both politically and economically. There are many reasons for better cooperation, which is one of the motives for continuing to work towards a comprehensive EU-China agreement during our Council presidency.
For his part, Foreign Minister Wang Yi suggested a far-reaching agreement between the EU and China on investment could be completed on schedule by the end of this year.
We must maintain the overall situation of China-EU relations and properly manage any differences. We will agree to the positioning of a China-EU strategic partnership and must grasp the most important aspects of China-EU development.
While the United States was never actually mentioned by name, both sides have made it clear they want to forge a relationship based on their own priorities, irrespective of what hostile commentary is coming from Washington. What's more, European countries have indicated they won't take sides in what some have suggested could become a new Cold War. At the same time, neither will be thrown off course when it comes to negotiating a comprehensive investment agreement, ideally by the end of this year. Before the pandemic, trade between the EU and China was growing steadily. Germany and China alone traded more than $250 billion a year in goods and services. A new framework could enhance that considerably. The Chinese foreign ministers' week of meetings in Europe, from Italy to Norway, the Netherlands and France, were all designed to shore up the relationship at a challenging time globally. It seems from the cautious but friendly reception he has received at each stop that he has broadly succeeded in that objective. Now, as he leaves to return to Beijing, the German Foreign Ministry believes it will be important for all sides to continue that détente and prove that the close collaboration seen during the response to COVID-19 can be matched in other areas. Mark Webster, CGTN, Berlin.
Stay with us as we bring you more news on Asia Outlook. Hong Kong is launching its citywide universal community testing program on the 1st of September, aiming to offer free COVID-19 tests to all Hong Kong residents. There are a total of 141 testing centers across city's 18 districts, with 70% of the centers fully booked for the first day. The Chinese mainland has also sent a batch of testing experts to help tackle the spread of COVID-19 in this city.
This is one of the 141 community testing centers in Hong Kong. As we all know that Hong Kong starts the large-scale community testing from September 1st. As you can see behind me, people are lining up here to wait for their tests. You only need to register on the internet in advance and choose your preferred date, time, and location, and then just come here. It's all for free for every Hong Kong citizen.
Entering the stadium, you will have your temperatures checked first here, and then using the alcohol to hygiene your hands. And then you go through here to get into the stadium. People are still keeping a distance with each other. This is the way that they come out after they finish the test. They told me that each one takes like 5 to 10 minutes to finish the test. It's pretty convenient. As I learned that 70% of the community testing centers in Hong Kong were fully booked for Tuesday. Chinese mainland has sent over 160 health professionals to Hong Kong working in the laboratory. Experts believe that testing is one of the best ways to cut off the chain of transmission by screening out those infected. People who test negative will receive a text message on the phone. Those with positive results will be contacted by the Department of Health and sent to hospitals or isolation facilities for treatment. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong government stressed that all personal information and the test results will only be handled within Hong Kong borders.
ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, will need to comply with approval procedures under China's latest revision to the catalog of the technologies that are subject to export bans or restrictions regarding the planned selling of the video sharing app's U.S. operations, an expert observed.
TikTok says it will strictly abide by China's new export rules, and that could complicate a sale of the business as demanded by US President Donald Trump. Beijing published new rules on Friday that added civilian use to a list of technologies that are restricted for export, and that would include platforms like TikTok. The app has been at the center of a diplomatic storm between Washington and Beijing. Trump signed an executive order on August 6th, giving TikTok 45 days to stop doing business with its Chinese parent company, ByteDance, effectively setting a deadline for the sale of the app to an American company.
China's restaurants are buzzing again with the coronavirus situation largely under control in the country. Many were forced to close for weeks or months and then had to cope with the smaller than usual crowds. CGTN's Li Jiamin spoke to some restaurant owners in Beijing about their year to date.
Dining out with family and friends, it's all part of China's rich culinary tradition. Life is now peaceful for Beijing's residents, even as the city suffered a rebound in coronavirus cases in mid-June. But for restaurant owners, it's a victory hard-earned.
We didn't offer dine-in services for a month and moved the business online afterwards. During the worst period, our revenue was less than 8% compared to last year. Just when we thought things were returning to normal, the second outbreak made all our preparations in vain. Now the business is finally back to normal.
The manager says nearly 90% of the restaurant's revenue has been restored to pre-pandemic levels, but he says his business remains alert to the dangers of another outbreak.
Our employees have their hands sanitized and temperature checked before working. We also sterilize the whole restaurant and check the health status of customers.
Besides major chains like Xibei, small restaurant owners have similar stories to tell. Miyashi Hajime comes from Japan and opened this Japanese restaurant 10 years ago. He says 2020 has by far been his toughest year.
The pandemic hit our business hard. Our restaurant was closed for 2 months, and when we opened again, we were only allowed to operate at 50% capacity. Our revenue was hurt too. But with the virus largely under control here, most of our customers have come back.
With the restaurant fully open again, it's often crowded for dinner. So much so that finding an empty seat can be difficult.
And once we come into this restaurant, we found all the table was reserved. So we have to sit here right now.
Hand sanitizing and masks have become part of people's daily routine, helping prevent future outbreaks. And if there's one silver lining from the pandemic, rising awareness around public hygiene. In the past, people may have not imagined crowded restaurants like this could be sorely missed. But as people head outdoors to enjoy their new freedom, restaurants now have a responsibility not just to feed people, but to care for them too. Li Jiaming, CGTN, Beijing.
Economic ministers from Southeast Asian countries, along with their counterparts from China, Japan, and South Korea, have committed to mitigating the impact of the COVID-19. In a virtual meeting, they agreed that building business confidence will be key to recovery. They also agreed to push ahead with the signing of a major free trade agreement this year.
Economic ministers from Southeast Asian countries, along with their counterparts from China, Japan, and South Korea, have committed to mitigating the impact of COVID-19. In a virtual meeting, they agree that building business confidence will be key to recovery. They also agree to push ahead with the signing of a major free trade agreement this year. They said the regional comprehensive economic partnership will help promote economic and social resilience in Asia. They also discussed how the digital economy and facilitating information transfer can help with economic recovery.
Japan's Art Aquarium in Tokyo has inaugurated a goldfish exhibit designed by Hidetomo Kimura. Over 30,000 fish, including koi carps, are on display in everything from traditional fish bowls to columns of water tanks. It is the aquarium's first permanent exhibit since opening on the 28th of August. China will introduce a negative list for cross-border trade in services by the end of 2020 in order to promote the institutional opening up in the services sector, the Ministry of Commerce said on Thursday. The country has seen robust services demand and relatively rapid services imports, MOC official Xiang Guoyi told a press conference. He said China will continue to open the services sector to the outside world, import more high-quality services, actively expand service exports, encourage high-quality services to go global, and enhance the international competitiveness of the country's services. We have more news coming up on Asia Outlook. Stick around. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday urged governments to incorporate meaningful climate action in all aspects of recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. Addressing ministers at a virtual meeting on sustainable recovery from COVID-19, Guterres said that the world is confronting two urgent crises via COVID-19 and climate change. The ministerial meeting convened by the government of Japan saw the participation of senior officials from several countries, as well as representatives from youth groups, civil society organizations, businesses, and local governments. In parallel, an online portal that showcases the climate and environment policies and actions in recovery from COVID-19 was launched. The platform for Redesign 2020 will help build momentum for COP26, the UN conference that assesses the progress in dealing with the climate change to be held in 2021. New studies confirm that the multiple types of steroids improve the survival of the severely ill COVID-19 patients, cementing the cheap drugs as a standard of care. An analysis of the pooled results from 7 studies led by the World Health Organization and published Wednesday by the Journal of the American Medical Association found that steroids reduce the risk of the death in the first month by about 1/3 compared to placebo treatment or usual care alone in these seriously ill patients who needed extra oxygen. Fresh from scoring Korea's first ever #1 hit on the main US Billboard music chart, K-pop juggernaut BTS on Wednesday set its sights on a standalone performance at next year's Grammy Awards and maybe a trophy or two. Since the 2013 debut, the 7-member South Korean boy band has served the global K-pop craze to dizzying heights. On Monday, it landed top spot in the Billboard Hot 100 chart with the breezy disco hit Dynamite, a first all-English language single that's been lapped up by mainstream US pop fans. For BTS, the global smash with the YouTube video that's already racked up the 275 million views raises hopes of glory at the Grammys. The band performed there earlier this year alongside rapper Lil Nas X, but has never been nominated for an award. 2 members of Japan's girl band Nogisaga 46, Sato Katie and Yorayuki, have tested positive for COVID-19, the agency of the band announced on Tuesday. The 22-year-old Sato and the 20-year-old Yora tested positive after all members of the group received polymerase chain reaction tests on August 27th. Both have shown no symptoms so far and are now self-quarantining at home following the guidance of a local health center. The agency also confirmed that all the other members and staff have tested negative and they have not close contact with the 2 members in question. Disney's action film Mulan, starring actress Liu Yifei alongside Gong Li, Donnie Yen is in supporting roles, will be officially being released on the Chinese mainland on the 11th of September. The film was originally scheduled to be released in North American cinemas in March this year, but the dates have been changed several times due to the COVID-19 outbreak. Cinema's distribution strategy for this film is released on Disney Plus on September 4th, while countries and regions without Disney Plus business or where theaters have resumed production will continue to choose the form of theatrical distribution. 21 years ago, the animated film Mulan became a household legend in China and the world and was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Score. It became one of the representative works of Disney. There has been a lot of speculation about the timing for the second swab test for patients infected with the new coronavirus. While the time frame varies from country to country, a new study suggests that the patient should be retested after 4 weeks to minimize the risk of spreading the virus. From the first positive test date, it would take an average of 30 days for SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes the COVID-19 infection, to get flushed out from the patient, according to a peer-reviewed study published in the online journal BMJ Open on Thursday. If the time is calculated from the day when the symptom of the infection started showing, then patients must wait for around 36 days to get a second swab test. And that's all we have for today's Asia Outlook on MI Radio. Thank you for being with us. I am Aga Zhou. We'll be back next week. Until next time.